Hi there. Welcome to the Lead Relationally podcast. Let's go for a walk and join the guys as they talk about a better way to lead people.
Hey everyone, we're so glad that you joined us for another walk. We're looking forward to this conversation. Hey Brad, how are you doing?
Doing great, Chris. We are continuing to explore the 7 C's of relationships. This is a conversation about different components, different dynamics to a relationship. And so there are ways of measuring relational health, where we're at with our relationships. As we've said, alone, these things don't give us the whole picture of a relationship. But once we start to look at them together, we really get a full, complete picture of where we're at.
I love it. And today's topic, it's commitment.
Oh boy.
Got commitment issues? Everyone's got commitment issues.
Getting cold feet.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, commitment is an important part of a relationship. So we'll unpack it. I think we can agree that the more committed to a relationship you are, the more important that relationship is, the better we hope that relationship can be. So I suppose you could be highly committed to a relationship that's unhealthy. That's a different topic. We're going to assume that the relationships that we're more committed to are the better relationships in our life.
Yeah, and commitment can look a lot of different ways. And I suppose at basic level, I think we know what it means to be committed to a relationship in its priority or its importance in our life. But also, this shows up differently than calendar. Sometimes these C's all connect with one another. But this is how you feel about the relationship and how active you want to be in driving towards health and your enjoyment of it.
Right. So if you think about the spectrum of relationships in your life, there's different levels of commitment to different people. So your spouse, you are the most committed to. We hope.
Yeah.
You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? You had a big ceremony. You paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
You made public promises that this is going to be the most important relationship in your life. You build a home, you build a family with this person. Obviously, the marriage relationship would be high commitment, and both people have agreed to be that committed to the relationship, which is why it works and is meant to work.
That's level 9, 10. That's right at the top.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got that at one end. And there's other relationships that we know we're just not that committed to. The person you get your coffee from, you might be friendly, and you might even get to know them because you get your coffee from them every day or whatever. It's a type of relationship, but the commitment's really low. If the person changes Starbucks locations, you're not going there, right? Someone else will serve you your coffee, and it's okay because your commitment is low to that relationship. So we all know that there's just relationships at the other end of the spectrum that we're really not that committed to. And they're not committed to you either. If you switch stores, they're going to be just fine. They're just going to get through their shift without you.
And it's actually, so there can be health on both ends of the scale. And so that's just good news to know that this commitment drive that we're going to talk about today doesn't mean we need to push everyone to level 9 or 10. And I think
you're married to one person.
Yeah. So now everyone can relax a little bit. It doesn't mean that everyone you work with needs to be level 9 and 10, because that is sometimes there. And the thing that we may think is we always need to push every relationship to the next level all the time. It's like, not necessarily, but this is why this is such a great lens to view relationships through, is it will tell you something. It will tell you something of what level it's at. And then you may think, is that good? Is that healthy? Is that balanced? Is that what the other person thinks? Or is it out of whack in some ways? And then that will help you think through those dynamics and hopefully help you have some maybe relational solutions to some challenges within that relationship that may be around. Someone may be more or less committed than the other.
Mm-hmm. So if we think about our team wanting to lead our people more relationally, assessing our commitment level to them is important, because we have to ask the question, how committed am I to my people? Because we want to say, oh, my team's great. I love them. I'm super committed to them. That's true. But are you committed to them because of their utility, because of their ability to do the job and do it with a good attitude? And so sure, you love them because they're useful. Or does the commitment go beyond just their utility? Are you committed to them as whole people? Are you committed to their success as an individual, not just their success because it makes you look good or it reaches your goals, but you actually want to see them thrive for their own sake, right? And we have to be very honest about that as leaders. Obviously, we want to have good relationships with the people that we work with, but we might not be as committed to them as we like to think we are.
And this is very difficult when you're asking any leader to be honest around this level of commitment, because when we look in the mirror, we want to be able to say a certain level of, this is how committed I am. And I think we feel it in our hearts and in our minds. Do you know what I mean? We're at a certain place. But then we have to look at our actions and how that actually plays out, because that might be actually a clearer measuring tool of what level of commitment you actually have, not think you have. Because we want to be sober leaders that have a clear picture of where we're at on this. And this is one I think can be quite challenging, because we all want to have a perception of how we are. And then we've got to ask ourselves from their point of view, how committed are you to them? Because you may have your view, but when we think about it from their point of view, in your actions, in how you speak to them, in what you speak to them about, those kind of things, that actually might give a clearer picture than your own self-assessment. And we are asking for an honesty, and we know we're pushing people a little bit.
Well, I think people figure it out. I mean, you could tell them, hey, I'm really committed to you, but they're going to figure out whether you really are or not. You can say all the right things, and maybe you fool them for a little while, but when it's never really backed up, people figure out, oh, I think they just are kind of saying the right things. Oh yeah, how you doing? How are things at home? Yeah. How's the spouse and kids? Great. Okay, a few things I wanted to talk to you about today. Do you know what I mean? Like, people know, oh, they're getting pleasantries out of the way so we can get down to business and what you really want. And that is just, you've got some things to tell me. And so you're just kind of ramping up to it with some niceties. People know what's sincere and what isn't over time. And so we might be very friendly, but that doesn't mean we're actually committed. It's hard to fake. There's intangible ways that we show people, you know, I actually really do care. You know, there's no rules for how you prove it to somebody. People know whether they're actually getting you and your heart.
I've found commitment tricky at times because it is the intangible sometimes. It's the way we talk and the way in which we approach certain conversations rather than the content itself. And that can be annoying. Well, not annoying, but harder to see, right? Because you can only really check your own motives or what have you, or the other person's experience of, are you genuinely asking or asking just for pleasantries? But there are other things that are more tangible, like events. And I know that that sometimes pushes more towards calendar, but it can be, oh, the person who's been the top performer month after month for like 3 months. So there's a perceived, you're more committed to this person because they're doing great. So you spend more time with them, you're more friendly with them. And so that's where maybe it shows up more clearly than in the detail of the conversation or the content, because only really you can hear that. That's a little bit more intangible, but some of it is harder to see. Other bits is where it spills over a little bit more into you're rewarding this person with more of a higher level of commitment in the way you're interacting with them in front of people. They're the favorite.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. So I guess what we're saying, if we're going to have any useful conversation about commitment, is that we're saying you have to be honest about what your commitment actually is to your people. And you might say, you know what? I can't pretend I care more than I do. I care, but I don't have time or capacity to really get involved in it all. We've all just got to show up and do our parts, and people have got to be cared for in other places. Totally fair. We just have to say that out loud and admit, okay, I'm putting a cap on how relational I'm willing to be with my people. And so if they're struggling or things like that, then they're on their own. And so we're making a choice, but we just have to be honest about that, whether we care about people beyond their utility to our team, how much do we care for them as whole people, and are we willing to create space for it to go further? So let's just talk a bit about that.
Well, yeah, as we're trying to work out our commitment level, we're trying to perceive, is my commitment level matching their commitment level, or is the disparity, is there unbalance here? On either side. It could be on my side, could be on their side. Like, there's many books written on boundaries and behaviors that bring about good boundaries or uneven boundaries. And really we're trying to say is, in this commitment conversation, we're trying to put health on balance. The boundaries come aligned with these two people when they're equal on both sides. But they're set on this thing called balance. Is their understanding, perception, and expectations similar to yours? Therefore, we've got commitment that is matched evenly between those two people, or between you and your team, rather than there's 3 favorites and 4 people that no one cares about and everyone knows it. That's an imbalance, and that's now creating an unhealthy team. So obviously it matters with the individual, but then it plays out in your whole team dynamics when it's known that there's some that are getting more commitment than others. And that doesn't mean that that's not okay. It's just, are you intentional about it, and have you managed those dynamics? Because then you've actually brought balance again. I know it can be slightly frustrating when you're working it through, but these things are at play anyway. Why not just mean it? Be intentional about it, and therefore understand it, because otherwise team dynamics will run you rather than you running the team dynamics. This is how we actually can bring balance to our teams when it comes to, is everyone on the same page? And that includes your way of relating to the whole team and the individuals in it.
Yeah, when I think about balance, certainly I can think about balance within the team and the relationships there and people's perception of that, but also just the balance of expectations. Because I think we can all think of those relationships where, maybe you've wanted more from a relationship, any relationship, think even outside your own team. You want more from a relationship than the other person wants. And so you sort of feel like, how come I'm kind of bumping, hey, I'm putting it out there, like I'm up for a good time. This person just doesn't seem to want to go there. And you kind of bump up against an invisible wall. I think we've all experienced that. And we've also experienced the person who thinks they're a better friend with you than you really want them to be, and they kind of latch on to you, and it's like, oh, they're kind of calling all the time, and there's no boundaries, and you're like, how come they think that we've got this whole thing going? And it's like, I'm not laying that down, but they're picking it up. And so almost as important as the level of commitment, it's actually the balance of the relationship. You can have a low level of commitment to a relationship, and if that person has the same level of commitment, it can be a very healthy relationship. It can be all that it needs to be, and maybe it doesn't need to be more. We're not saying you need to make everybody your wife or everybody your best friend. In fact, you can't. But what we're saying is, are we as committed to our people as we need to be? And are they wanting the same things from us? And when there's balance, then no one's has unmet expectations. No one's getting hurt. No one feels let down or overlooked, or how come that person's, spending more time with that person, because everybody wants the same thing out of the relationship.
And I think that as we start to lead more relationally, because we're engaged in these conversations, we sometimes send out some of those signals, don't we, that we're open to a bit more. And for some people, they may be like, I don't want more. I don't want that. For other people, they may latch on and then be like, great, we can have dinner every Thursday night and our kids can play together every Saturday at the park. And it's like, oh no, like, because I've turned up the commitment level a bit to my team, because I've wanted to engage with them a bit more, some people were not quite sure what that meant or weren't quite ready for that. And other people have now taken it to the nth degree and said, let's be level 8. And it's like, no, what's happening? And so we just wanted to share that as we start to level up our relationship or our commitment a little bit with certain people, to bring them more in, to know them better, because we've started to do that. Some people may say, oh, that means we're now close friends and we're having dinner every weekend. And so for us, as we manage the increase in commitment, sometimes we also be the manager and take the lead in leading down to the place where it's healthy and where it's balanced.
Well, it shouldn't surprise us, right? If we're going to be leading relationally, this is where the messiness is going to show up. There's going to be people that get it wrong, that read the signals wrong. They don't understand where the boundary is. Probably because they've actually never had a leader in their life as awesome as you. Right. And you actually care and you're committed to them. And they are so starved for someone that actually sees them, gets them, and is committed to them and their success. They don't know what to do with it. So they just latch on to you because they're lonely, or you're offering them something that is good and pure and true. And we're just so starved for those things in this life. So it's a good thing, but you'll have to send the signals to show the person, no, we're not best friends now. And so, I'm not going to answer the phone anytime you call. And that's part of leading someone, is you're going to have to show them, okay, yes, I'm committed to you, but here's where it lands in our context here on this team. And so, like you said, there's times that we want to pull people up and say, I'm offering more. I think we should be more committed to actually one another's success and health in our whole lives, because we're all going to be better for that. When you show up to work and you know that people actually have your back, they like you, they want you, and not just because of how useful you are, but that they actually feel like these people have my back beyond just whether I'm performing or not, and my leader has my back. Now, showing up at work, it's fun. And for us too, as leaders, it's like, that's more fulfilling when you feel like, I would run through a wall for my team because I really like these people. And when that commitment level is matched, health grows. Now, if you want to keep it safe, okay, you don't have to go there. You can say, no, that's not going to work here. I don't want those messy situations. Work will be transactional. Just show up, do the job, okay, you will keep it safe. You'll never have those relational problems. But then you're saying, I am actually not going to be committed on that level. And so we're limiting how relational this whole thing's going to be.
But we will pick up some other relational problems because we won't get the level of buy-in or ownership that maybe we want from the team. Because a commitment to each other and to you is a commitment to the whole, right? To achieving the things the team's trying to achieve. So it'd be nice if we could pull all those things apart and they don't connect, but it does. So it's almost like we're sort of choosing our relational battles or things we're trying to pursue. If we're trying to pursue a high level of commitment to one another as a team, then that is more shared ownership. That is more. Where if it's a lower level, then you'll have people that will behave like that. And so with more commitment, you get more activation from your people, more buy-in and more dialed in, and obviously a bit more teamwork. Like they care about, I hope that goes well for you. I'm there for you, rather than, well, if the presentation didn't go that well, no big deal. It won't look bad on me. And so that's not cold, or it's just less of a commitment. It just affects me less because I'm not as invested. And so just hearing you say that, it's interesting that there is a yin to a yang. But if you choose not to manage it that way, you will have to manage some other things.
Your problems are going to show up somewhere. And what we're saying, we think it's worth the risk of being more relationally committed to your people, offering them a higher level of commitment, and sorting out the messes that creates, that the payoffs are larger and worth the risks than keeping it cold, robotic, transactional, work is work, and personal is personal. That's not how we want to lead. That doesn't satisfy us. And we suspect that there's lots of you out there too that think the same way.
Well, yeah, because lots of us don't like the team dynamics that we have. And so we have to manage them. And so we would like to make a change. And this is a way to make a change that's more towards health and more towards balance. And that will actually rise your whole team and change the dynamics to be balanced. And to actually have clarity in where our commitments are and what we're committed to. All of those things will affect your team in positive ways.
Right. So it's really important that we understand the relationship between the two. It's the level of commitment and it's the balance of the commitment of each party. And so, if you're out of whack and it's not balanced, somebody wants more out of the relationship than the other, it has to come into balance or there's going to be misunderstanding and hurt. But if there is balance is an opportunity to increase the level of commitment and see if it will go there. Again, don't propose marriage when you should just be wooing, courting. I think we all understand sort of the dating metaphor. Things have to progress at the right stage. And if you get too keen and you go too fast, it's going to throw things out of whack. Things have to grow at a normal, comfortable space for both people. So we understand that when it comes to romantic relationships. But any relationship, we have to kind of put it out there and see if that's received by the other person. That could show up in some of the other C's that we talk about, like calendar. Okay, I'm going to give this person more time. They're going to show up on my calendar more. It may overlap in some of those areas. It doesn't have to necessarily show up on the calendar. There's, like we said, intangible ways that you can prove to somebody, hey, I'm committed to you. The words that we say, the things that we're saying, as long as it's sincere, we can show people we are more committed to them than maybe that they realized.
I like that. We don't say the word wooing enough. But do you know what I mean? But that idea, we understand that, but appropriate office-based wooing.
Let's be really clear.
Let's be really clear on what that is.
Keyword is appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, we're coming on the home stretch here. So what do we do with all this?
I suppose, first of all, primarily, we need to be honest. Where are we at with this whole commitment thing? At what level do we want to be at with this team that we're leading, or with our people that we're part of the team, whichever stage you're at, whether you're leading it or you're a part of the team? Well, how committed do I want to be really? Not just in my mind, but in real life, do you know what I mean? And I think that is the starting point. And I think that we just got to be clear there. Then from that point on there is we've got to lead, right? Whether that be to a level of more commitment, more invitation. That means just knowing them a little bit better, deepening that commitment of knowing them and letting them know you and doing that well. And so that's important to be able to bring balance. So you've got to lead it up into more, or if something's out of whack and you've got to lead them down, then do that. But do that intentionally and kindly by setting those boundaries on a balanced place and just being straight with them about where they're at. that's really how we land the plane on this, being clear where we are and where we want to be, and then leading towards that. And I think most of the time for us in leading relationally, we're going to be upping it, but upping it appropriately over time and naturally.
As leaders, we always go first. We're the creators and architects of our own team culture. We can sit back and say, oh, I wish our team was more committed to each other. You know, they don't really seem to be. Well, it's like, well, we have to go first. We create that culture. And so we have to offer that commitment level and prove that we're sincere, because maybe they don't trust it. Oh, that's my boss. You know, hey, what's his angle? He's being really nice. You know, she's wanting to have she's asking all these questions about like my life. And it's like, it's weird. It's like, well, maybe it is weird, but we want to get to a place where it's not weird. So try and do it in not a weird way, but recognizing we're leading our people into a place that's, okay, they might not have gone there before. They might be playing it safe with their relationships at work, and they might not yet have discovered how great it can be. And that the people that you show up and work with and function with on a team can actually be some of your greatest allies in life. But we're the creators of that. And so it might mean that we're a little bit vulnerable. We're offering that, and then we're saying, oh, okay, I'm the boss, so they're looking at me suspiciously. It's going to take time. And over time, people say, I think he's sincere. I think this is genuine. There's no angle. He's not trying to sort of like drop a bomb. The other shoe's going to drop if I, let my guard down a little bit. It's like people have been hurt in work relationships because there's power dynamics and people are ambitious and they're trying to one up each other and trying to and so all of that's at play and whatever's in people's history, and so we got to cut through that and to say, no, I'm committed to your success. Yeah, we're going to meet our team goals. I know we will, because I know if we're healthy that we're going to get there. And when people trust you there, they're going to step into higher levels of commitment to each other on the team and to you.
So we look forward to hearing from you guys of how it goes to bring balance. First of all, how did it go admitting where you were in the commitment level thing? Yep. And then how did it go bringing balance to your team? And then the great conversation is, what's next? What's a little bit more that builds more commitment to one another as a team towards health and balance for all the members of your team? That'd be amazing. I would love to know how that goes.
Don't propose marriage to anyone on your team to up the commitment.
If you're buying many rings, call us.
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop.
All right, great. Well, get out there and have a walk, and we'll talk to you next time.
Can't wait till then. See you then.
Hey, thanks, guys. Join us again soon for another conversation. But in the meantime, it's your turn. Get out there and walk alongside the people that you're leading. Visit us at leadrelationally.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more support.